A good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the Netball Europe World Cup Qualifiers, coming live from the University of the Highlands and Islands in beautiful Perth. And what an exciting weekend of netball it's been. I hope you're joining us today for the third match of this tournament, which sees the home side Scottish Sizzles take on a very strong Northern Ireland lineup. Those of you who've joined us over the weekend will have seen in yesterday's match Northern Ireland beat a struggling Welsh team who were looking to bounce back from their defeat on Friday. However, the game went the way of Northern Ireland with a 57-42 win. After Wales' second loss of the tournament, they saw their hopes of competing on the world stage at the Netball World Cup 2019 unfortunately come to an end. All three teams over the last 8 years have been in this position, experiencing the heartache of missing out on a Netball World Cup place in the last 8 years. After the game yesterday, we caught up with the Northern Ireland captain, Caroline O'Hanlon, to hear her thoughts of the game. Caroline O'Hanlon, welcome to this part of the interview. You must be delighted for Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I suppose at this stage just a bit relieved. Obviously there was a lot at stake there. Both teams were playing for their lives today, really. So just relieved to get over the line. We knew if we went to hard and played to our potential that we would get a result. But Wales are a great team, and then we knew they put it up to us right to the very end.
And we saw there was quite a lot of embracing between the two teams. I think Northern Ireland have been in this position where you've missed out on a World Cup before. You must really feel for Wales.
Yeah, absolutely. We were in their position the last time round, so we know it's absolutely gutting. And my sympathies are with them, but I'm just glad it wasn't us.
Yeah. And of course, on to play Scotland tomorrow. You both know you've qualified, but tomorrow's another world ranking game. Thoughts on how you'll prepare for that?
We'll just go home and recover. We'll have another look at their match yesterday. We don't need to do too much homework. We know a lot about each other already. And at Netball Europe, there was nothing between us, just a goal. So we know it'll be another tightly contested match. I mean, both teams will be out to win that match, regardless of what's at stake, I suppose.
And when you think about the time you played Wales in October last year, there was one goal in that as well. So you've gone away, you've done your homework. You've come here without Lisa Bowman, who we were talking about in commentary. I'm assuming she might be injured. It almost didn't seem to matter. The depth in the Northern Ireland squad has been fantastic.
Yeah, Lisa picked up an injury during the week and unfortunately wasn't able to travel. Obviously, a calibre player like Lisa, you want to have her in your side, but I mean the girls just rallied and upped their game to compensate for her not being here. And I think the shooters were outstanding today, so all credit to them for shouldering that pressure.
And of course, we know netball is a game where all 7 players contribute, but we wanted to mention Nolene Lennon. Usually see her down the other end, picked up the mantle of goal shooter, and I thought all of you in attack had a great game. What were you thinking?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Nolene's no stranger to goal shooter. She has plenty of caps under her belt in that position, but it's a long time since she played. So I mean, fair play to her for going in there. She hasn't been practicing there too often. Obviously, with Lisa, you want to have Nolene and Lisa both on the court at the same time, but I mean, she really stepped up to it today, and she was outstanding. So delighted for her.
And I'm sure you're grateful to all the people in Northern Ireland behind the scenes, not only your support staff, but all the volunteers who've really supported you to get you to this position now. And we'll be looking forward to going to Liverpool next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody put their shoulder to the wheel this last year or more with Elaine and her team and the strength and conditioning. I think we girls are in the best condition that they've ever been in. So that's credit to everyone behind the scenes, physios, S&C coaches. I mean, they've all really worked hard, and it's shown on the court today.
So Caroline, congratulations to you and your Northern Ireland team, and we look forward to seeing you on the court tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
So these three teams, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, have been competing over the weekend for just 2 places at the most prestigious event in World Netball, the World Netball Cup, to be held in Liverpool next year. And as you now know, after 2 days play, both Northern Ireland and Scotland have secure places. I'm Lynn Carpenter, and joining me in the commentary box today is Maggie Jackson, former England international, England coach and now Netball Europe technical director. Maggie, welcome today.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So whilst we know these two teams have qualified, still massive amounts at stake. And as you can see, Scotland's squad on the screen there. Scotland are starting with the same combination in terms of the match that they played the other night. So familiar lineup we'll see when they take the court. thoughts on Scotland? How are they going to approach this game? Massive world ranking points at stake here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not a do or die anymore, but it's really important. I'm sure psychologically they want to be getting the win over each other. It also affects where it happens in the draw for Netball World Cup too.
And of course, Northern Ireland squad, interestingly, starting with their same 7 combination they put out yesterday against Wales. So where do we think the battle's going to be on the court today? When these two teams met back in October at the Netball Europe Open, only 1 goal separated them, which was scored literally in the dying seconds of that match.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure Scotland have been practicing that situation that occurred with them in that match, because they had 30 seconds to go and they launched it in and put Bethan under enormous pressure on that evening. So I'm sure Gail Parata's been working on that. But it's going to be a very, very close game, Lynn. Really close, and it's exciting. The crowd, it's fantastic here. They're up for it, and no, it'll be good.
And as we know, there's nothing like a home crowd to give you that 8th person on the court.
No, and what's great is the Irish have come across too, so they were definitely in good volume yesterday.
So let's just run through the squad starting 7 for Scotland. Goal shooter, Bethan Goodwin. In at goal attack, Lindsay Gallagher. Wing attack, Nicola McCleary. Centre, their captain, Claire Brownie. Sam Murphy in at wing defence. Fiona Theman at goal defence. And goalkeeper, the very experienced Hayley Mulheron on the court. And lining up against them, a very experienced Northern Ireland side with Nolene Lennon in at goal shooter, Kyla Bowman goal attack, Michelle Drain in at wing attack, their centre and captain Caroline O'Hanlon, wing defence Neve Cooper, in at goal defence Fiona Toner, and at goalkeeper Gemma Lawler. So the battle of the captains at centre, perhaps?
Yes, and they'll know each other really well. Obviously, Caroline O'Hanlon was with Sirens last year, now moving to Manchester Thunder. So Claire Brownie and Caroline both know each other, I would imagine, inside out. So exciting.
And at the moment, these two teams' world rankings stand with Northern Ireland 9th in the world, Scotland at 11th. And what's at stake is potentially a switch. So Scotland know if they win this game, it could push them up to a really high ranking of 9th.
Yeah, if you're sitting below and you win, then it's a great advantage and it has a great impact on ranking points.
So as you can see there, the teams are lining up, just waiting for the umpires to take control of the match. And the umpires for today's game are Ian Fuller and Kate Stevenson, with the reserve Gemma Cook. So it's almost the calm before the storm here today, Maggie.
Yes, I mean, I think the crowd are really revved up, and all the Netball Scotland volunteers I've been meeting over these last 3 days have been really looking forward to this particular game, partly because of obviously what happened in October.
And if you look at the scores of these two teams against Wales, Scotland beat Wales 52-40, Northern Ireland beat Wales yesterday 57-42, so almost there's nothing to choose between them.
Yeah.
And here we go, Claire Brownie, captain for Scotland, to start this game. Early pressure by Northern Ireland, very effective yesterday against Wales.
Yeah, very, very experienced defence, and obviously, I mean, having Nolene Lennon having to go up into the shooting area and coming out defence, they really, Fionnuala Toner going back in defence with Gemma Lawler has really just been a very consistent and very smooth transition, actually.
That's a great feed by Gallagher, cutting the baseline. Good, confident first shot, always good to put your first one away.
Yeah, I do think that Bethan, goal shooter, has really grasped the metal at shooting and doing really, really well this season.
So first turnover on the Northern Ireland centre to Scotland. Probably not the start they would have wanted.
No, and actually finding that space over Fionnuala Toner and Gemma Lawler quite easily there. And it's good to see Nicola McCleary and Lindsay Gallagher linking in very well in this early start, because they did struggle a little bit against Wales.
So early score, Scotland take a 2-0 lead.
The Scots play quite a low game sometimes, so it's quite hard for the defence to get their feet round. And Gemma Lawler's experienced enough, I think, will be starting to say, I've got to get my feet round and get in front of her.
So Northern Ireland are going to want to pull this back. 3-0 Scotland lead. Good pressure in there.
Yeah, good footwork and good roll by Hayley Mulheron. Two very experienced defence in there. But a wasted opportunity by Scotland there. You need to be able to score off these turnovers. The defence are doing such good work in that Scottish defence.
We saw in the game on Friday night between Wales and Scotland that there was critical moments for both teams where they were 3 ahead, possible 4, almost 5, but then didn't quite capitalise on where they were.
Exactly. You know, you've got a turnover, you've got to, and it's the critical moments that are the most important in any performance sport. Whether it's shooting, passing, and it's where the pressure is on and can they cope with the pressure.
Well, Heron's hands there are really giving Lennon some thing to think about in the circle. Bowman, first shot away. 3-1 Scotland lead, their centre pass.
Yeah, I thought Bowman looked very calm and very smooth yesterday, and able to really capitalise, and was a real driving partner for that Northern Ireland team when they played Wales.
We talked yesterday about the fact her sister, Lisa Bowman's not here, injured, but actually the strength of the Northern Ireland squad has shown that depth.
Yes, I mean, I was talking to Elaine Rice yesterday, the coach, and I think that's what's so pleasing for them is the depth, and you've got 3 or 4 of them involved in Super League franchises as well, so fitness point of view really shows, I think, from that point of view too.
There was an uncharacteristic miss by Goodwin there. 95% on Friday night she scored, only missed a shot in the first and 1 in the second, and then 100% after that. So that might be one of the only ones we see her miss tonight.
Yeah.
Lennon out deep. Good pressure there by Scotland.
Yeah, lots of good movement, and making sure that they really are covering the back and the front. The 2 Scottish defences really making it hard just to feed that ball in to Lennon. She was probably allowed yesterday to hold and be fed the ball quite easily from the front, and these 2 Scottish defenders are clearly not allowing it today.
Seven, one of the experienced professional players on the court, plays down in Australia.
Yeah, it's lovely to see her back here, and I mean, she's obviously got a Scottish father, so eligible for Scotland, and got involved 3 or 4 years ago. We'll be going back to Thunderbirds for their pre-season very soon. Both teams causing a lot of defensive pressure, I think, and making, you know, over these 3 days we've noticed a lot of lateral balls being thrown because of the pressure that they just can't get the ball forward.
Goodwin opting to reposition. Worked well for her. Takes Scotland to a 4-1 lead. Just under 10 minutes now remaining this first quarter here. Again, Bowman calm and collected.
Yeah, good to see it taking on the mantle, because Lennon's under a lot of pressure there, and they've obviously trying to stop that ball straight into Lennon, and Bowman is saying, actually, I'm good enough to take the shot.
Oh, good hands there. Transition down the court for both teams. Really effective. Goodwin plays that really strong front position in the circle.
Yeah, that was a very good drive and didn't allow the Northern Ireland to set up.
So, still early in this match, but Scotland take a 4-goal lead, 6-2, their centre pass. And this is what we were talking about, critical moments, centre pass, in theory, 5 up.
Yep. Really need to get the shooting opportunity every time. Penalty given away then I think this is the first match which we actually have seen a bit of daylight in the first quarter. It's been very much a seesaw the last 2 days.
Lawler picks up the rebound.
Those are the critical moments that you do need to get that shot in. Just allows you then to go to 5 goals.
We saw a lot of this sort of in the first 3 quarters of the game on Friday night between Wales and Scotland. That's better by Northern Ireland. Good control by Lennon. And it's back to 3 rather than a 5-goal gap on their centre pass.
Yes, it really is. It's so important. I think there was one occasion on Friday where Scotland had 4 opportunities really to get that goal on each turnover.
That's a huge turnover there by Scotland. Into Gallagher. Lost possession. Just both teams need to settle down.
Yeah, somebody needs to take the lead. Just take the sting out of it.
As we're saying, you've got the experienced captains of Brownie O'Hanlon playing against each other.
Yeah, slightly neutralising effect actually. Both
Great
of them tremendous
choice.
athletes.
There we saw a great space there, Goodwin dropping back. 7-3. Scotland lead here in Perth, Scotland, at Perth College. Goodwin taking it to 5 very confidently.
Yeah, super feed in.
Worth remembering she's only 18.
Yeah, very, very good, and getting more and more experience, both of the Scottish team and Sirens now.
You look at the experience of Lennon and Mulheron there, more or less 100 caps each between them.
I know, I don't think Lennon thought that she'd be playing shooter again for Northern Ireland. She's obviously moved back to a less familiar place in defence, and also but very, very effective. But needs must, and she's done a very, very good job yesterday.
Great use of body fakes there by Goodwin. And you sense again, Northern Ireland now trailing by 5.
Some tight, close marking in there. Really contesting well.
Really important score from Lennon. 9-5 now. Scotland still in the lead. Just over 5 minutes to go in this quarter. Maggie?
Yeah, I think Scotland will be looking just to continue to get this. They're not having too many problems at the moment in getting that ball down the court, and Bethan Goodwin is doing a great scoring job. Lindsay Gallagher making that goal attack spot well.
Now you saw her putting on some extra defensive pressure in Northern Ireland. Great use of the triangle there by Scotland.
Yeah, it's Scotland centre pass.
So what do Northern Ireland need to do, Maggie, to keep themselves in contention at this early stage? 6-goal gap in the first quarter.
They need to make sure that they capitalise now on the centre passes. I mean, they lost that last one very, very easy on the third line.
That's great vision in there.
Great vision. They're not going to get away with that too many times, but suddenly to see that gap between them, that was good, well played.
That's a couple of times now that we've seen McCleary getting called for footwork.
Some good switching in there between Thiemann and Mulheron. putting pressure on the feeder. The feet just don't stop working, but it's a good split, good move by Bowman to allow that feed into Lennon.
Unfortunate miss there, great rebound both him, gets the ball out really quickly, finds Brownie. Murphy's had a good tournament as well for Scotland.
Yes, and she did very well. She moved from wing defence to wing attack on Friday, and that I think allowed them just to get a little bit of better connection. So she's an important player within that Scotland squad.
So 3 minutes on the clock here in the first quarter. Still a 6-goal game. Great hands by Lawler.
Yeah, I think Scotland are going to tidy themselves up a bit. They can't afford to allow now Northern Ireland to get back into this game in these last couple of minutes. And it's also important for Northern Ireland just to get this ball into a shooting opportunity.
We've talked about this being the Netball World Cup qualifiers this weekend. That's a great positioning by Thaman. Wales unfortunately haven't qualified despite their world ranking. But both of these teams on the court have felt that heartache in the last 8 years. So 4 years ago, we saw Northern Ireland not qualifying. 8 years ago, up in Kelvin Hall in Glasgow, Scotland were unfortunate at the wrong end of the 2 from 3.
Yeah, it's so tough. You know, it's a World Cup, and you've got a team who's a country who's in the top 10 not qualifying. If I'm honest, it's crazy.
So if you were to give a message out there, if our partners at INF are listening, what do we think we would like to see in terms of the Netball World Cup going forward?
Well, in my view, the definition of a World Cup is to have the top countries there, and therefore that's what you need. And I don't quite understand the logic behind it, but we'll just keep on fighting hard. From a Europe point of view, we put in a lot of our host countries put in a lot of time and effort into hosting and competitions every year, and I think we need to get INF to understand how important it is for lots of reasons, funding as well as performance on the court.
Starting to talk about, is this time for change? Is this time for a voice within the decision making within INF to make that clarity? Is it a performance competition and the best in the world go? Or is it a participation, in which case having teams who may be ranked 19th, 21 and 24th in the world, which is what will happen at a World Cup, just creates a completely different playing field?
Yeah, it is. And you've got, from a point of view of Europe, Wales, as you say, Wales this year have not qualified next year. And the impact that has in lots of things within their governing body is immense.
And they're currently ranked 8th in the world.
Yeah. They'll be cross with themselves for not qualifying, clearly, but it's it just doesn't make sense to me. All 4 countries should be at the World Cup, just purely based on their rankings.
And of course, I think we're not saying just because Netball Europe's in this position with strong teams, it should be the principle. And I think if another region came forward and had 4 or 5 teams who are the best, that principle should apply.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So as you can see, we're into the last minute of this game. Scotland 13, Northern Ireland 6. Playing that low game, which Goodwin's so effective at. Very hard for defenders to come around quickly and get their hands to those balls. Really hard, because invariably you've got to get around it and anticipate. Gallagher takes the shot. Crowd very pleased with that. Scotland on 14, Northern Ireland on 6. Big goal difference. We're going to want to get another one in. Penalty pass or shot. Oh, unlucky. So at the end of the first quarter here in Perth, we see the home side Scottish Thistles take a lead, 14 goals to Northern Ireland 6. What do you think so far, Maggie?
I think the Northern Ireland will go in and actually say how are we going to actually break down Mulherron and Thiemann. I think it's hard to feed. Scotland just got to keep going out there and focusing. They obviously came out strong, as you say. The home crowd helps, but their focus was tremendous, and they've scored, and they've had the feeding opportunities as well.
So we're hoping to hear what the Netball Scotland bench is saying to their players. So we'll bring that to you in just a second. As you see, Goodwin very confidently putting her shots up. So Northern Ireland in the opposite end of the court really got to close down the effectiveness of Goodwin in there.
Yes, Finola Toner's are very experienced, as in Gemma Lawler. So, but let's look and see what's being said here.
Through court defence, they're coming through the middle channel, that's where they're beating us. Alright? And keep the through court attack cutting through the middle channel.
On our six pack, we just need to go with them a little longer over the line because they're not like that one I got burnt on, but we need to still try and push them by.
Yeah, that's fine. We can cheat, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good score.
Thieman's talking about needing to push them up, and because they are able occasionally to get to the
Potentially we could bring it on.
So thank you for putting us involved on our social media this afternoon. And hashtag AWC Part 2 is just short for Netball Regional Qualifier. It's nice and sunny. AWC Part 2, a couple of
These two still know, they might know when it's pick back, but they're not coming down. I'm shouting at them, just make sure they know.
Whistle, which I can hear on to good effect here this afternoon at Perth College. Once again for their amazing support here this weekend, and all our other partners, including University of the Western Scotland and QTV Sports Broadcasting live all across the internet. Well over 65,000 people have tuned in all weekend long. So thank you for being part of the experience there. And Scotland and Northern Ireland go forward to the Netball World Cup.
So as you can see, advice around about really pushing forward, managing that team, pushing the line.
Yeah, and just holding longer. I think Thiemann is aware that either Drain or Hanlon are able to hit the circle edge, so they just really from either from the centre pass or from the coming through is actually pushing them up the court.
And we heard that Scotland bench are happy with their start. Not surprising, really.
No, really good start. Much better start than on Friday night. It was a bit more of a seesaw. I just want to make sure that at those critical moments, that they keep possession. In the last few minutes, they really got back into the game again, which was great. So it was a great finish. But they need to. They know that Northern Ireland are going to come out strong. There's some athletic mid-quarters for Northern Ireland out there. They're not going to be lying down.
So we'll see whether there's been any changes to any of the positions on the court at the moment. Probably not surprising. We see a couple of substitutions for Northern Ireland. McCaffrey's come on at wing attack and McCulloch at goal attack. That's where we're saying there was some pressure getting the ball into the court.
Yes, I think Michelle Drain was probably being marked fairly tightly and by Sam Murphy, and just not quite finding that space. So again, it's an opportunity to come off the court, look and see what's happened.
So Northern Ireland centre pass turned over now by Scotland. Using the width of the court there really effectively. Goodwin is going to punish them every time she gets the chance.
That was a great quick transition. Northern Ireland have really got to get themselves back into a defensive position, not allow that to happen.
Another good shot by Goodwin takes Scotland 16 goals to Northern Ireland 6, so a 10-goal gap.
Yeah, it's creeping up, and I think Niamh Cooper and O'Hanlon have just got to look at some switches around the circle edge, because McCreary was really all on her own there.
Really calm by Bowman. Pulls one back. Ooh. Referee okay. Ball's going into Goodwin very easily at this moment.
Yeah, a little bit too easy, really, and
And remember, those of you who are joining us again here in Scotland, send us your comments, use our hashtag NENWCQ, and we'll do our best to give you a mention. Rachel McCormack's tuning in and cheering her team Northern Ireland on. So Rachel, hope you're enjoying the game today.
there's some good movement between Gallagher and Goodwin, and it's just creating that little bit of problem. It's splitting Toner and Lawler, and the dodge along the baseline by Goodwin is very, very effective.
Better positioning by Lawler.
Yeah. Scottish attack really working hard, making it hard for the defence to bring the ball out.
Both these teams have worked really hard in the last 2-3 years on their court physicality, their conditioning, and you can see it playing out in the matches this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Hanlon did really well cutting off the line of the ball there, taking it before Murphy could get a finger to it.
What's been the difference then, Maggie, when you look at these two teams and how they've developed? Wales obviously very disappointed this weekend. They'll need to rethink what their kind of game plan is for the next period of time. What do you think Scotland and Northern Ireland have been doing differently, perhaps?
I think from a Scotland point of view, they're very, very well supported by the Scottish Institute of Sport, and they're a strong group of athletes. And listening to the programme that they're doing with the Sirens, you know, we're talking about the imports. They've got some Jamaicans here, and those Jamaicans last year they were on a different programme, I understand, within the Institute of Sport, but this year they're up as 5, training, and you know they're under a very, very strict programme. So I think the link between the Scotland squad and the Sirens franchise is very strong, and I think Gail Parati's done a great job, and it's trying to make sure that they're really maximising these players. Northern Ireland, I mean, Lane Rice has come back in to coach, and she's done a great job as well, recruiting players coming. You know, there's a couple of players who come back into the fold. Again, strong. You've got 3 or 4 players playing for franchises, and I know she really encourages that. So there's a lot of travelling by these Irish girls, backwards and forwards. But it makes a difference. They're getting regular experience, regular competition, and I think that's making a difference too.
So unfortunately, Bowman didn't finish that one off. The score still stands Scotland 19, Northern Ireland 9. McCullough, I should say, sorry, not Bowman.
It's a very late take-off by Toner there. I think McCreary's having a much better game today. She found it hard on Friday to get that connection with Gallagher, which I've seen for Sirens has always been quite strong. And she was taken off on Friday, so it's great that Gail has got that confidence in her to put her back on as a starting 7, I think, today.
That's well held by Brownie. Finds Gallagher. Good rebound by Lawler there. Over a third. Surprising.
Yeah, I mean, unforced error, that's unforgivable, really. Defence have worked hard. It's very, very important. And now Scotland have got another shooting opportunity. And I think that for me is part of this game. A little bit disappointing that we can't give Lennon and McCulloch those shooting opportunities. Now forcing Lennon to come out, which isn't always a good thing, I think, because she's so effective in that circle normally.
So with just under 9 minutes in the second quarter before we hit half-time, Scotland 21, Northern Ireland 9 at this moment in time. They'll be disappointed they haven't yet got into double figures.
Yes, and I mean, you know, Mulheron and Thiemann are doing a great job, really good job. They're switching, they're moving, they're trying to get in front, they're altering the angle. You can see Mulheron there really forcing, but McCulloch says no, circle edge shot, well done.
We've talked about the tremendous growth in the game here in the region. We now have 11 member countries, full members of INF. We have 4 teams in the world's top 11. Decade ago that wasn't the case. What do you think's been the sort of the step change that's got us here? Most of the member countries, biggest membership they've ever had with netball as a sport.
I think the 4 UK countries, the governing bodies, have to be really congratulated on the amount of work that they've done commercially and with partners. Their development work. You've got Geraldine McGuire, who was commentating yesterday for Scotland, does an amazing job up in Scotland. You've similarly got that in Wales and England and Northern Ireland too. Immense. You've got Karen Rollo sitting on the bench as the manager. She's the CEO of Northern Ireland. They have a much smaller resource, but they're trying to maximise it. So all credit to the championship countries, I think, for what they've managed to achieve over these last few years.
Just both teams getting a little bit sloppy now.
It's a little bit messy. It's usually the commentator curse, but actually that was messy.
And it's probably also worth mentioning that not only the 4 UK teams we're talking about, the 3 here this weekend, plus England, who we have to say congratulations to. What a tremendous win last night against New Zealand.
Fantastic result, and big congratulations to Tracy Neville and the coaching team and the support team, and Emma McGeezy and her squad. You know, brilliant. Extra time. That's what you play for. I heard Sarah Bayman commentating last night. That's exactly what players train for. They want it close. They don't want to be beating by 20 goals. Clearly Tracy would have probably have liked it a little bit further apart, but no, extra time was amazing. Serena Guthrie turning over those 2 or 3 balls, and yeah, superb.
And not only do these 4 countries work to develop netball within their own borders, but they've all taken responsibility for working with another partner member country within the region. So Scotland, for example, are partnering with Gibraltar, Northern Ireland work with Ireland, and so on. And that ability and that selflessness to help develop other countries within the region has been a tremendous part of the success of what's happening here in Europe.
Yeah, it's immense. I mean, examples of Northern Ireland and Scotland both supporting table official training in Gibraltar and Republic of Ireland respectively, and very, very important. And yeah, it is down to those kind of projects with that buddy system that it is really paying off.
So as we can see, the scoreline, Scotland 23, Northern Ireland 11. Just over 5 minutes till half time.
Northern Ireland have just got to keep moving that ball around the circle edge just to try and turn the heads of the circle defence. At the moment it's staying in one spot or coming to the top, but the defence had been given time to set up.
McCulloch. With a confident shot from her. If they could get it into the circle.
Exactly, and I mean, they're doing a good job, and McCulloch has come on in the second quarter and is shooting from quite a wide range.
Gallagher, 24-12 now. Hanlon calling for the ball back.
Scotland are really working hard defensively to try and encourage that lateral ball, then a diagonal ball, and you saw Mulheron coming out and only just missed it, but it was the right thing to come out on. Just need to change the line of the ball that she worked on.
Better by the 2 shooters there, Northern Ireland, better understanding on that one.
Yep. Brownie taking that ball so well under pressure.
Good rebound by Lawler. Another player who's come through the sort of development ranks within Northern Ireland, a young player.
Yep. Yeah, there's a great camaraderie within that Northern Ireland team, and that desire to really come through for Commonwealth Games, and now of course World Cup next year.
So back to 10. Scotland 24, Northern Ireland 14. Heading down to 3 minutes till half time.
Just important to keep moving, giving options.
Northern Ireland have done well not to let that score get too big.
Yeah, they just must not feed that ball. The times they lose it is when they feed it not from the circle edge, and then Mulherron is getting that. The last 2 or 3 shots, they've been very patient. But got another chance, back line. And from a Scotland point of view, I think it's those kind of errors that they've got to start. You know, there's a wide goal margin, but you've still got to be demanding yourself to compete. There's your diagonal ball again. Thiemann working hard to come onto it.
Northern Ireland are going to want to pull a couple back to go into half-time with less than a...
Toner's there's been some errors from Toner. I don't know whether she's having to do too much work, or there's a couple of passing errors that I wouldn't expect for Toner to do. She's a quality player. It's the back shooter that they just are not coping with. The Scottish shooters are splitting them, and that relationship between Lawler and Toner obviously is not as experienced as it was, just because of the move from Lennon up to the shooting end this week. We've got a blood stoppage.
They can't stop it, which hopefully they'll be able to. They'll need to make a substitution. Gallagher will be disappointed if that's the case. She's had a great tournament so far.
Yeah, she has.
As you can see from your shot there at home, the facility here is completely sold out. In fact, I think Netball Scotland said within minutes of the tickets going on sale for the event, they were all gone.
Yeah, it's great, and I mean, they don't often go to Perth. They obviously were down here playing up here, I should say, playing in Perth against Samoa in December, so they got a bit of a taste of it. But people have travelled far and wide just to see these matches.
So they have made a substitution, Scotland, so Gallagher takes to the bench.
Yeah, Joe Pettit is on goal attack. Another player's come through the pathway for Scotland. And will also be gaining lots of experience from having seen the experienced shooters for Siren last season.
So Brownie handling error there, which Northern Ireland will try to capitalise on, but they're not going to do it in that way. Now into the last minute before we get to half-time. Scotland 26, Northern Ireland 14. So food for thought for Northern Ireland at half-time, Maggie?
Yeah, I think it's those loopy balls into the circle just have to be eliminated. They can't, you know, they got possession. They've just got to keep possession and keep working the ball fairly flat around, because Mulherron and Thiemann are anything in the air they're competing with now. At the back end, I do think Toner and Lawler have got to tighten up. They've got to talk together. It's again, as you see, it's just that back feed. Loosen up. Whether they need to not switch positions, but switch within that circle a little bit more, use Toner's elevation a little bit more.
So there you see, we're going to half-time with the home side Scottish Thistles in a commanding lead, 27 goals to Northern Ireland's 14. So, as you would expect, Maggie, at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Scotland would have thought that it would be such a big gap, but I mean, they'll be absolutely delighted with that first half and the way they've attacked the game. I think they'll want to eliminate some key errors, but Northern Ireland have got a lot of work to do.
Okay, thank you. Let's see what the teams have got to look forward to when it comes to Liverpool next year. We'll just show you something to whet your appetite. So if the game and this weekend wasn't exciting enough, you've seen what Scotland and Northern Ireland have to look forward to next year by virtue of their qualifications. I welcome now Claire Nelson, Chief Exec Officer of Netball Scotland, to the commentating box. Claire, first of all, congratulations to Netball Scotland. You must be delighted with the result that you're going to the World Cup, but also here at half-time, probably slightly unexpectedly, 13 up against a really tough Northern Ireland team.
Yeah, so first off, qualification for the World Cup, we're absolutely delighted with that. I'm sure I don't need to labour the point that it is disappointing that all three of us aren't going there. And when you see the quality and calibre of netball in the region, and I know you agree with this, it's pretty mind-boggling that one team isn't going. However, you know, my priority is on Netball Scotland, and in order to safeguard the future of our performance programme, in order to have a pinnacle event that allows us to prepare and develop our athletes for, and to, keep ensuring that we are performing and developing on the world stage. It's critical that we qualified. We came here to do a job this weekend, and I'm delighted with the outcome. I think looking at today's game, I think the gap that we have is surprising, but actually, I know that this team that we have here is exceptional, and I've been waiting for them to come out and play their game from the outset and showcase what we all know is there, that depth of talent, that skill that we have been developing for years behind the scenes. So for them to come out and execute, possibly because the pressure of qualification is now off them, they've just come out to give everyone a good game, and that's what they're doing here today.
And you talk about the Netball World Cup and what it means to Scotland, but also to Northern Ireland. The disappointment we all felt for Wales yesterday. We watched the game last night in the Quad Series, England beating New Zealand.
Yeah.
And you have to say, in the last decade, there's been a shift, a massive step change in netball in the region, which we're seeing here this weekend. So I guess the question is it time for change in terms of how we prepare and allocate team places for the World Netball Cup, the prestigious, the top performance
Well, I think the first question is what is the World Cup? So if you want it to be the pinnacle performance event in your sport, and not everyone's a Commonwealth country, so if you want it to be that and it's about the performance arm, then we need to go back and look at actually what is that qualification system. I appreciate that actually world competition also allows sport to be invested in and gives you that platform to develop. So we look at what happened with us as a sport when we were able to host the World Youth Netball Champs and we were brought funding into the system. But there is a way of being able to manage developing nations and creating competition strategies that allow them to grow and develop, whilst also ensuring that the top end of the pyramid, the top of the game, is able to thrive, and that we're increasing the level of competition. We cannot just keep having 3 or 4 teams holding the baton at the top. So we have to look at that. And I think, you know, when you're looking at what's happened with Northern Ireland and Scotland, particularly coming forward and really now being able to challenge Wales and that shift in what's happening in the region, you have to look at funding. This hasn't happened overnight. We have had consistent funding and a strong strategy in place. My concern is that going to continue? I've read Jo Adams talking about her funding runs out 2019. I know that I have funding cuts literally hanging over my head as we speak. So this is, you know, when you're seeing the development and you're seeing what's happening and how we're reaching all these people, we need that funding to continue.
And as we've just seen there on the fixtures list, the results from the last 2 games over the last 2 days, Scotland beat Wales by 12 on Friday night, Northern Ireland beat Wales by 15. So even though there's a big margin there, the quality of the play of all the teams is really significant.
Absolutely.
And I think it's right. We do need to have that conversation. And you know, you'd look at the Commonwealth Games in comparison, which teams are heading down to the Gold Coast less than 3 months away in April. All 4 teams here will be competing in that, because the way that the Commonwealth Games allocates places is done on the top 12 world rankings.
Yeah, and I think we'll need to look at all the results that come out of that and see what the calibre of competition is on court that comes out of it. Are they tight games? Are players and athletes really getting a good competition? Is it fair? You know, when you look at the margins at the moment, they're tight because we are developing together and we're challenging each other. Certainly having the Super League here and us being involved in that has made a huge difference. But that, looking at why we do things and having the right strategies, is critical for us as a sport to keep up with the development that's happening everywhere else.
And of course, those of you who are tuning in at home, you're always very welcome to be with us. Have your say. Send a hashtag NENWCQ message to Claire and I, or Maggie when she's back, and we'll do our best to give you a mention and to hear your views. So, Claire, 13 up at half time. Clearly Scotland are going to want to capitalise, but if you were sitting there on the bench for Northern Ireland, and you probably won't want to give them any advice, but how would you look at that game?
The best thing about the Northern Irish is their attitude. These guys do not give up. They come out to fight, and they're consistent in their execution, and we cannot rest on that. I just said to my performance director, when do we relax? And she went 2 seconds from the final whistle going, you know. So this is a scoreline that these guys can come back and really eat into. I'm just hoping that my team keep their head and continue playing some fantastic netball, and we can keep that lead.
Claire, well, thank you very much for being with us today, and congratulations again to Scotland. Thank you for hosting the event this weekend.
It's always a pleasure having Netball Europe here. We love working with you guys, and great to bring it to a new city as well in Scotland.
It's been fantastic. So thank you, and good luck for the rest of the game.
Thank you.
So as you can see, the teams are now back out. Well, Netball Scotland's back out. We're waiting to see Northern Ireland come back into the game. Remember, give us a message, give us what your thoughts are. So lovely to have Dublin Galaxy with us. Really pleased to have your views, supporting the fact that we need to have the strongest teams in the world at the World Pinnacle competition. I think we've made our point very clear this weekend. Maggie, Claire's reiterated that the debate now is the Netball World Cup performance, or is it participation? I think the world of netball really needs to kind of grasp that ideology and make a decision about what it's all about.
It's too important for the governing bodies. As I said earlier on, there's massive funding that rests on ranking points, it rests on positions, they've got targets. Scotland have just gone through a rebid again. It's sort of an annual basis, and if they haven't got any control, so Wales have got no control, now they're out of it. they are going to be playing possibly less games. So you're going to see some other countries coming through, and yeah, if they were ranked 22, 23, that's something different. But they're actually up there in the top 10, and therefore should be at the World Cup next year.
And the dichotomy of it is we have Ireland here in the region who are pushing hard to get a place up in what we call the championship teams. Their world ranking is actually higher than some of those teams that will qualify to go to the Netball World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. And Ireland is a dichotomy, and it's something that as a Netball Europe region we have to talk about as well, because they fall between two stools and they're working incredibly hard. They're off on tour again in February. They went on tour in December. So they are putting a lot of funding in. It's the players putting in the funding in that case as well. So it's in order to try and raise the grade in that country.
And by mentioning that, many of the viewers at home won't actually know that most of the teams have to contribute towards it. Some of the UK teams are lucky, but Ireland, when they tour, not only do the players play for themselves, but they have to make a contribution to all the support staff that are travelling as well, because there's literally no money in the sport in their country.
Absolutely, and it requires a real dedication and real passion.
So as we get ready to start the court, we've got a couple of substitutions to tell you about. For Northern Ireland, Woods is coming on at wing defence and Michelle McGee in at goal defence. And for Scotland, we see Sutherland taking to the court as wing D and Gallagher coming back on at goal attack. Obviously the blood timeout has passed and she's able to retake the court.
12 minutes of half time has sorted that one out. Yeah, Bethany Sutherland, I think we mention it each time, don't we? But her mother, Pat Sweeney, from England, played for England many years ago, played for New Campbell in Essex.
She'd probably not like to say that many years ago, Maggie.
That's true. But she's here in the audience as well, and supporting her daughter. And of course, Bethany's at University of Hertfordshire and played for Surrey Storm last year and is now recruited for Sirens this year. So a lot of travelling for that young lady.
So here we go, second half of the game. We see Netball Scotland taking the first centre pass. They lead at the moment, 27 goals to Northern Ireland's 14. But that won't stay that way if there's those types of unforced errors.
No. Interesting that Toner has come off and McGee has moved on to the goal defence. I don't know if there was an injury or there was something, but Toner just looked a little bit out of sorts, I thought, in that first half.
So within the space of 30 seconds, 2 unforced errors by Scotland to start the second half. Not their strongest start we would have thought they'd like to see.
No, and if you're going to start going up the rankings, you need to be able to, we keep talking about those critical times, and they have to cope with that pressure and be consistent.
McCullough. Lennon gets penalty called against her. So here comes Scotland again. Let's see, third time lucky, bringing the ball down. Goodwin may consider herself lucky there to get the penalty.
Yes, there's
just
better
before
movement.
the ball went off the court.
There's better movement by the defence then, but McGee infringed.
So 28 now, Scotland's doubling, Northern Ireland score 14. Clearly they've made a couple of substitutions in there, Northern Ireland. We'll hear at three-quarter time what their coaching staff's saying, but what do you think the advice was at half-time?
They had to tighten up defensively, and also had to, they've got to get that ball on the circle edge. So clearly by the substitutions she made in the back end, she feels that hopefully will tighten it up. And I mean, we've actually had 2 or 3 turnovers now, and it's important. I did wonder, if I'm honest, whether she might change Lennon and put her back. But she is an important target in that shooting position, and I think they've already had so many changes and disappointments with Bowman being injured at the beginning. And yesterday, Lennon did remarkably well, and they fed her well. So I think there's confidence there still in ensuring that if they can get that ball to the circle edge.
And of course, Scotland are not going to make that easy for them.
No, and you know you've got two defences in there, dropping slightly back on Lennon for that feed, and it's a silly feed to put in. Scotland have been let off the hook a little bit at the beginning of this quarter.
Better feed into Goodwin. Characteristic confident shot by Bethan.
Yeah, Leslie MacDonald working obviously as a shooting coach within that Scotland coaching team. And I'm sure Bethan has taken a lot of advice from Leslie MacDonald over these last couple of years.
Not afraid to put the long ball up.
No, she really is. It's a strong, cool, calm. Exactly what you want from your shooter.
So Lennon is almost being forced to come out and play that rotation shooter more, trying to create space in there, which they did really well there, finding McCulloch.
You've got so much experience in Lennon, haven't you, over the years, and her leading and directing McCulloch then, which was great.
So the score now, great ball in. We'll see if Goodwin adds another one. Scotland 31, Northern Ireland 15.
Scotland really forcing Northern Ireland back, putting enormous pressure. It's up to Northern Ireland just to keep being patient. Just that lifted ball makes me wince.
I think it made Nolene wince as well. She's got it back in the circle.
Yeah.
The same, very experienced. Not only does she have, well, probably 92 caps now, including the 2 from this weekend, but she got her first cap for Northern Ireland in 2003. This is her 15th year playing at international netball level. That's pretty tremendous.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And she's part of the Northern Ireland staff as well, working in the talent pathway too. A really knowledgeable, enthusiastic person who's giving back a lot to her country too.
Oh, good reading by Lawler there.
Northern Ireland just finding some gaps at the moment, but Scotland are doing very well to just create that pressure.
It's interesting because the players are all asked who their favourite players, and some talked about players of the past. Irene van Dijk's come up, and others talk about current ones. Caroline O'Hanlon, their captain, says her favourite player is Gemma Lawler. Quite nice.
Yeah, it's good. Good team building.
So it's Scotland again coming down the court. 9 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yeah,
33-17.
Yeah, Northern Ireland just got to stop Lindsay Gallagher just cutting the court, the top of the D. She seems to do that with ease on occasions. Great hold by Nolene Lennon there.
And a good shot. Saw a shot of Ian Fuller, the umpire for today. It's interesting when you talk to the umpires, the way they watch the game is completely different to the way you and I or a coach watches the game. It's almost like a different game.
It is. We were all watching the England-New Zealand game, and that was definitely them watching a different game to us.
Oh, well read there by the very experienced Hayley Mulheron.
Yeah, her experience in Australia over the last couple of years really paid dividends. She's come back very much stronger, much more disciplined, I think, as well. And
she's currently still living in Sydney as well. 106 caps.
Yeah. Yeah, very experienced player. But I've noticed the discipline is so much better, and that's great as a goalkeeper for your country.
Great shot again by Bethan Goodwin. We're going to say that a lot of times this match, I think, Maggie.
Yeah.
Her favourite all-time player is Irene van Dijk.
Yeah, and Irene van Dijk came over, I think, just before, may have been before World Cup, just recent, you know, a couple of years ago, and did some work in Scotland. Through Gail Parata's links.
Great ball there. Well, Heron's head was just down slightly and they spotted it. Good pop to Lennon. 34 plays 19. Looks like we have McCleary coming off and Sam Murphy taking to the court again, this time wing attack.
Yeah, she did a very good job on Friday against Wales, coming on at wing attack. She's a tough defender. Yeah, that kind of ball isn't going to get in there. They've got to do sort of the gut pass a little bit more rather than allowing Lawler. So well done to Lawler for taking that tip and that interception. That's the other
Getting
diagonal ball.
tempted to pass the diagonal, but the Netball Scotland are almost tempting them to do it.
Yeah, just creating that diagonal, which is what you want. Some good hard work going on by the back four for Scotland.
Harpenden Netball Club are pleased to hear that you're in the commentary today, Maggie.
Thank you, Harpenden.
Another change here by Northern Ireland. Probably not surprising to see them ringing the changes now. You see their captain, Caroline O'Hanlon's now gone to wing attack.
Yeah, Michelle Drain has gone on at wing defence. Just need to check that probably, but I've got a feeling it's Michelle, wing defence for Northern Ireland.
Good pop.
That was an eye of a needle pass, wasn't it?
It went through. And gap slightly pulled back by Northern Ireland. Scotland 34, Northern Ireland 20. Just over 5 minutes now in this third quarter.
Yeah, interesting, Northern Ireland have moved their wing attack to wing defence. So Drain's gone from wing attack to wing defence during this game, and Murphy's gone the other way for Scotland.
It literally is, every ball counts.
Yeah.
So Brownie for Scotland. See, new Bethan Goodwin again for Scotland in the circle. 35-20. So as you can see, we have Joe Petty still there at goal attack for Scotland. Northern Ireland have read among the changes, Maggie.
Yes, I mean, Michelle Drain is on there at wing defence, one of the Maverick players, and we've got O'Hanlon, one of the Thunder players, moving to wing attack from centre, and Woods coming on at centre for Northern Ireland. So just trying to make it's definitely not playing your squad. You're just trying to work through those combinations and just see what will be effective to enable now Bowman and Lennon to get those shooting opportunities.
That great interception there by Sutherland on the court.
Yeah, she's getting stronger and stronger.
I hope you've enjoyed the coverage here this weekend from Scotland, which is thanks to the INF for the funding for the event this weekend, and of course our partners QTV Sport. We appreciate the support of both of you. As you can see, the games here have been very exciting. Great quick hands by O'Hanlon. We'll see her vision on the court, but again, just
yeah, they just can't have that high ball. The defence are just far too experienced, got far too much elevation. Super work around the circle edge between Murphy and Brownie. opening up that space.
And that takes the game now 17 different. Scotland 37, Northern Ireland 20. Possible suggestion by the crowd that she might have been pushed, but the umpire didn't agree.
No. Those are the kind of defending ones that you've just got to cut out. I think Murphy, she's so enthusiastic, wanting to cut out those balls, but sometimes just mistimes the line.
Good shot by Lennon. Couple of minutes to go now until three-quarter time. Possibly a little too much for Northern Ireland to do in this game, do you think, Maggie? Or
well, I think possibly the win is possibly out, but I'm sure Northern Ireland wouldn't agree with me. However, I would like to see them starting just to change the game plan a little bit and recognise what is working and what's not working, because they're just not recognising that actually if they keep the movement around the circle edge, it does open up for Noling.
There you go, great shot by Lennon. And between now and these teams heading down to the Gold Coast and Australia for the Commonwealth Games, what's the chance that they've got some more international competition to play, or is this it now until they hit Australia?
As far as I know, I think this is it. I think they've obviously got some training, but they're both Scotland obviously will sort of, you've got all but two involved in Sirens, so they will be working with Sirens. Super League starts. You've got some of the Northern Ireland players having to travel backwards and forwards, so I think this will be it. I understand that New Zealand are off to Jamaica and so on, so they are actually continuing their training and touring, but hence why this particular match is important, just to see where they're at against each other.
So with a relatively comfortable score for Scotland, they're leading Northern Ireland 16 at the moment. We're just about into the last minute of this three-quarter time here at Perth College in Scotland. Great support by the facility here for the event.
Yes, but Perth College has been tremendous. Lots of lines on the court, but Netball Scotland and Perth together have been trying to blank them out too, so apologies that you're seeing lots of colours, but there are even more if we hadn't done that.
Do you think netballers really notice that? I know when you talk to the players, they say, well, we only ever see the netball court anyway, and instinctively, the experience of these players, they know where the lines are automatically.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's the players. I think probably it's more a visual for spectators and on the screen.
Until you'd mentioned it, I hadn't really noticed it. So here we go. Can Scotland seal another one before three-quarter time? Not like that, they won't.
No, there's been some good work between McGee and Lawler. McGee's taken a couple of good interceptions outside the D.
So that takes Scotland into 40 now against Northern Ireland's 22. They'll be very pleased with that score as they head into three-quarters time.
Yes, I think as a team, I think there's been the energy upped itself in that third quarter. I think Scotland will be pleased defensively as a team, how they've done. They've turned over ball, created pressure on Northern Ireland. So much, much better from the point of view of consistency. I think Northern Ireland are obviously trying to work through their different combinations, work through what will work, see how different combinations work. And that's also an important one now when you see the score blowing out a little bit.
So we'll shortly be hearing what Elaine Rice and her bench have to say to the players at three-quarter time. Another great shot there from Bethan Goodwin. It's great to see so much talent coming through all the teams here in the region.
Yes, I mean Pettit and Goodwin are two young shooters who are really gaining that experience, and from Sirens they sat on the bench quite a lot last year and they gained that experience through the training with the various inputs that were brought in, and then this year obviously Goodwin is, I'm sure, will be take a big part in Sirens too.
So let's tune in and hear what the Northern Ireland bench is saying.
At the end of the match, you'll get the chance to join our fan zone, which will take your strengths on the court in front of you. Get a chance to get your pictures taken, a few autographs with the players at the end of the match. So don't depart. Just after you leave on the fan zone, hopefully catch a quick word with some of the Scottish whistles too. So I know the party is
when you're available, I want you to come in the run with it. Give them balls and take yourself on them. Even if you are get your hands up, it's forcing that high bit of pace back up into it, okay? Yeah. Because she's in game 2 and you're in game 1 really. You're fresh, let's go that, alright? And that's when you're in there to do that, okay? That's good and tight down there, alright? And there's plenty, just keep being available, but we're going to play fast. Right? Do your day. Ella Gibbons is playing the keeper. It's a height difference there, girls. Yeah. That'll be good.
So she's smaller.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, let's go for broke. No, girl, just go.
Alright, go for broke.
Right, Northern Ireland, right. 1, 2, 3.
Northern Ireland! Let's go. Hasn't been blowing yet, has it? What?
Nah, I don't know. Right? Yeah. Guys, there's from high, look long. Yeah? Yeah. Right, Northern Ireland, right. 1, 2, 3.
Northern Ireland!
Brilliant, Michelle. That's it.
So Maggie, as we heard there, some advice from Elaine Rice, the bench.
Yes, I mean, she's asking them to get their hands up to get this stage 2 and to make that ball lifted. She's basically saying do or die. She's obviously really looking at the combinations that are going to actually get them back into this game in these 15 minutes.
And for Scotland, we see one change starting this quarter. We see Gibbons coming on at goalkeeper. So here we go, final game, final quarter here in the Netball World Cup qualifiers for Netball Europe. 40 playing 22. Just waiting for the umpires to get the signal to start the game. And we shall be off again. So Gibbons on at goalkeeper for Scotland.
Yes, I saw her playing for Scotland in October. She played for Loughborough Lightning last year. Really an up and coming again, a young player coming up, a strong athletic defence, playing both goalkeeper and goal defence.
I'm sure she'll be pleased to have got on the court today.
Yes, she's been sitting on that bench this weekend, so important to see what she can do.
Good tip to the ball there.
Ooh. Gosh, that's strong strength by Claire Brownie there to take that ball and pass it on.
And a great shot down the other end by Bethan Goodwin. Neither player wants to let go. Sutherland still smiling. All fair in love and netball.
I never understand how the umpire can make which decision. I wouldn't have a clue. She's got to be careful about taking people's space there as they land.
And setting the penalty appropriately. Oh, good hands there. Good.
Great hands by Lawler there.
Fast feet, but perhaps just a little bit too fast, unfortunately.
Yeah, just needed to just stop, think. McGee's working hard around there just to try and see if she can get that ball that's being bounced in, dropped in, looking for straight with herself, but it's a hard one.
Well, we now Scotland 20 ahead of Northern Ireland, 42 playing 22. Let's see what Lennon can do down the other end. Great clean shot by her.
Yeah, the timing was really good. O'Hanlon got on the backside of Brownie, and it enabled that ball to hit the circle edge, and then Lennon was there. So well played and good timing.
It's great to see that even at this stage of the game, and you would expect it with the professionalism of these teams. Every ball still being contested, every goal still really important to them.
It is, and when you look at the rankings, you know Scotland are going to be improving all the time after this competition. 2 wins against 2 teams who are higher than they are. Well played, Michelle Drain. Good take. Well read now.
So we started this weekend with, I think it's Wales 8th in the world, Northern Ireland 9th, and Scotland were in 11th place. So we expect to see some changes now. Again, good shot by Lennon.
Yeah, Northern Ireland are finding some space. Karen Hanlon is definitely, the timing has really improved. Suddenly we see O'Hanlon driving down the court, which is great.
Great ball there by Brownie, finding good win. Northern Ireland working hard to close the gap down. Oh, that was unfortunate. Great vision.
Yeah. Well kept in by Goodwin there. Northern Ireland forcing them to go back.
They were talking a lot on Friday about the double leads in Scotland, making sure that there's always 2 options, 1 short, 1 long.
Yeah, very, very important. Just the amount of work that the players have to do.
Lennon calling for that early ball into the circle. Bit disappointed with that. Gibbons brings it out to Thurman. So just under 10 minutes to go. Some great performances by players of both teams. Who would you pick out as some of the ones who've been outstanding to you, Maggie?
In this match, Lynn?
Yep.
I think clearly Goodwin has been very, very calm, collected. You've got Claire Brownie being that leader. I think she's been able to work against Karen Hannon and take that ball through. So for me, Brownie and Goodwin are the key people. But I think Scotland, they're a very good defensive team, and I think it's that defence team that works so well. With Mulherron and Thiemann causing such problems with Lennon. Northern Ireland, I think it's been hard today, but you can't fault the amount of energy and effort that they're putting in.
So when you think these 2 teams met back at the Netball Europe Open in Cardiff in October, it literally went down to the wire, didn't it? In the last few seconds, Northern Ireland scored the goal, which gave them the match by 1. Yeah. Yet we're seeing almost very similar players here, but at different times. So what's happened in the meantime, do you think?
I think having Fiona Thurman in at that goal defence spot has made a big difference. She wasn't there in October. She's back from Australia for this. I think that makes a big difference. I think Lennon's done really, really well, but I think Lennon back in that circle defence with Lawler have got a great understanding and a great partnership, and possibly with Bowman at shooter, they struggled to try and cut out that pass to Bowman. So just a different style.
So we've still got a 20-goal game here. Scotland still leading, 45 goals to Northern Ireland, 25. And actually that's a big gap from a sort of goal average perspective. Yeah. And actually, when you look at the world rankings, the actual difference between the teams count too, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. Scotland really have shown some progression, and they should be pleased, I think, with the structure that they have set up within their governing body, I would say, within their performance programme. So we see Goodwin
Looks like Goodwin possibly coming off. Petty going back to goal shooter. Hanlon.
I think we're seeing McCall coming on.
Oh, Brownie called that one right. Good tip, but off Hanlon. So Scotland force the turnover. But Bowman's having nothing of it.
No, those are the important ones. That if you're still demanding performance from Scotland, those are the passes. Another team will capitalise on that kind of error.
Great ball in there too. Joe Petty for Scotland. Now partnering up with McCall at goal attack.
And Nicola goal defence, who you saw quite a few times last season playing for Sirens. Getting opportunity back on the court for her country.
Should be pleased to get probably what's going to be a 7th cap, I think, for Scotland today.
Yeah, so she's got some good angles, and she's set up really well with Gibbons there to force the long shot by Northern Ireland.
Nice, quick hands on the triangle between Murphy, Brownie, and Pettit. Takes Scotland close to that half century. 48 now, leads 26. Just over 5 minutes to go here, Maggie.
Yeah, I'm sure Scotland will be wanting to get into the mid-50s. Important for Northern Ireland just to keep that concentration going. Good dodge by O'Hanlon there.
Looks like Lennon taking to the bench. Bowman slotting that one in nicely.
Good quick relief by Murphy there.
Always amazes me how calm and cool the benches always look. Bowman again. Gibbons finds Sutherland.
Crosby's come in as the shooter for Northern Ireland, and she was a late call-up for Northern Ireland.
That's with the Lisa Bowman injury, I think, wasn't it, Maggie?
Yes, that's right.
So a great ball in again to Petty. Scotland really opened the vision on the court there. 51 to play, 27. It's probably one of the biggest goal differences we've seen between these two teams in a long time.
Yeah.
That's a great ball into Crosby.
I think for the neutrals, a bit disappointing. We're wanting a close match today, but I think Scotland wanted to put this game to bed clearly. There were going to be no draws in this competition, so it was important that you had to get a result, or it would be going to extra time, just like England found themselves against New Zealand yesterday.
Just re-emphasise the importance of the match isn't over until the final whistle goes.
Exactly.
And England fought hard to keep that match to level pegging, and then going into extra time, they certainly were the stronger team there.
Yeah, they were, and I mean, playing an extra 14 minutes is, it's hard work for the legs, and they really did come out strongly in that extra time.
So here in Perth in Scotland, we have just under 3 minutes to go. Scotland leading Northern Ireland in the last of the 3 Netball World Cup qualifier games here this weekend. And as we know, Scotland and Northern Ireland have successfully achieved qualification through to the Netball World Cup in Liverpool next year.
Yeah, tremendous achievement for both countries. However much we feel obviously sorry for Wales, we have to congratulate Northern Ireland and Scotland for achieving that success and looking towards 2019 in Liverpool, of course. And the launch was late last week, buying the netball in Liverpool, and it's all going to become very real, I'm sure, once the Commonwealth Games has been completed.
Bowman, good rebound by Crosby. Crosby's sister is Finola Toner.
That's a new piece of information, I didn't
There
know
we
that.
go.
There you go, talented family.
And as we were saying yesterday, you've got the Bowman sisters,
Yes. No, they're
Northern Ireland.
hard-working NGB.
Michelle McGee has a sister who's also played at the highest level in Northern Ireland. Not here this weekend. Unfortunate. Good pick up by Lola. She's had a good tournament this weekend.
Yeah, she has, and she's really, she's worked hard. It's been hard work in that circle today, and she hasn't always got the better of Goodwin and now Pettit, but she's taken those opportunities, and when she can, she's rolled the body and tried to get the turnover and create the errors.
So Northern Ireland have done well to peg that growing gap back. 20 still is a score they'll be disappointed with, but at least they're still fighting. 51 now, Scotland, Northern Ireland 31. We're into the last minute of this game.
Yes, in the last 5 minutes, they've kept Scotland scoring down.
Yeah, Brownie will get up again, I'm sure.
Yeah, great leader, good role model for Scotland.
Good, confident shot there. Could this be the last centre pass of this game? The clock's running down.
This is where they need to be aware of what the time is. This is exactly what happened. Clearly it doesn't matter in this game, but it's what happened against Northern Ireland in October. They needed just to you just need to keep possession until about 3 seconds to go and then feed it in.
So that awareness just maybe something that Netball Scotland's going to take away to work on. But we have to say a big congratulations to the hosts, Scottish Thistles, today. Significant victory over old rivals Northern Ireland, winning 52 goals to 31. They'll be delighted with the outcome, particularly bearing in mind they lost to Northern Ireland by 1 less than 6 months ago.
Yeah, great result. Opportunity to play the squad as well. Gail Parata could see who is working with who well and giving experience to people like John to Pettit as well. And yeah, she should be very, very pleased.
And as usual, even though there is intense rivalry on the court, these two teams have the utmost respect for each other. And I know all 3 teams, including Wales, want to see each other do really, really well and succeed. So Scotland acknowledging their 8th player, the crowd who've been tremendous this weekend.
Yes, there's been a lot of Scottish people here, and they definitely have brought Scotland back to first place in this World Cup qualifying.
So as you can see, the final score there, Scotland win 52 goals to Northern Ireland 31. You can't actually see it, but the coach driver for Scotland's busy doing a little jig here in the corner, so he's delighted as well on behalf of the home team. Northern Ireland will take some disappointment possibly home from this weekend, pleased with their qualification to the Netball World Cup, but some things to think about before they head south to Australia.
Exactly, and I mean Elaine Rice, you have to congratulate her for what she's managed to achieve over the last couple of years. and to come back and work the Commonwealth Games and qualify.
So we're hoping to shortly talk to the Netball Scotland coach, Claire Brownie, but bear with us and allow them to enjoy their success here in Perth in Scotland. So been a great weekend of netball, and our thanks go to Perth College for allowing us to come and play our tournament here this weekend. The support from the team here, Gareth and his colleagues, has been tremendous. So let me hand you over to Graham Easton, who is now with Scottish captain Claire Brownie. Let's hear what she has to say about the game.
So with Claire Brownie, the Scottish Thistles captain. So Claire, a place in the Netball World Cup finals. You must be very pleased. 2 wins out of 2 this weekend.
Absolutely ecstatic. We came here for 2 from 2 and we've done it and we've completed our job, so we're really, really proud, and oh my god, the fans have been amazing and you really did help us cross the line, so thank you, fans.
And as well as the World Cup, we've got the small matter of the Commonwealth Games in the Gold Coast in April. Again, a huge incentive for the players to do well there as well.
Yeah, buzzing for the Commonwealth Games. The last one was amazing, so hopefully it'll be the same again out in the Gold Coast. But we've really just been focusing on this, so job done, and now we can push on for Com Games.
Can you put it down to anything particular why the team have performed so well this weekend?
We're the best prepared team that we've ever been coming into these championships, so it's a credit to our management team, our Institute of Support, and the pre-season programme that's been put in place that's allowed us to come here ready to compete and ready to win both games.
And it must be even more satisfying to qualify in front of a great home support here in Perth. They must be really grateful for all their support all weekend long.
You can't undermine what impact the support has had, whether it's been through social media or been here in person. Even when it's been snow and horrendous travel, you guys have been amazing. So thank you. Keep supporting us and we'll keep bringing the goods as we can.
So final thing to say is Scotland are going to the Netball World Cup. Thank you to Claire Brownie. Big cheer once again for your Scottish Thistles here.
So we heard from Claire Brownie then, talk not only about the quality of the play of those team players on the court, but very much the team behind the team.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to really give credit to the support team, the coaching team, and the structure behind them as well. There has been amazing progress made by Scotland over these last 3 or 4 years.
And of course, we know that our sport doesn't succeed without the commitment from volunteers.
No, I mean, Netball Scotland, since I think they trained to deliver the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, we've got some amazing volunteers in Netball Scotland. We see it from a Netball Europe point of view when we come up here and they are hosting us, the table officials, the volunteers. They're very passionate. I was speaking to one of the Scottish volunteers yesterday. She's off to the Gold Coast to be a volunteer down there. She's got the bug. She wants it. And I think this experience at Commonwealth Games in Glasgow has been a real legacy for Scotland.
And of course, when you host events, and we can see on the screen there the outcome of the matches this weekend, but the experience it gives a governing body when you're actually running an event, and the support you need from a whole range of people that makes the event on court run so smoothly. It is an absolute almost organisation by default, unless you get that right.
Absolutely.
And as we can see, the group table there, Scotland clearly the outright winners this weekend. Very strong goal difference on 33. Northern Ireland -6 goal difference in second place, and still going importantly to the Netball World Cup. Wales unfortunately missed out on that, and the scoreline shows -27 goal difference.
Yes, and just didn't have the consistency, Wales, to perform against Scotland and Northern Ireland, but all credit to Scotland and Northern Ireland for what they put out on the court against them.
And this whole tournament couldn't have happened this weekend without special mention to a number of people. So Maggie, thank you very much for joining us today. I'd like to give a special thanks to Netball Europe, our International Netball Federation, for your financial support this weekend. Of course, to Perth College UHI, to our partners QTV Sports, and finally, and probably most importantly, to all of you at home watching, thank you for your support. I hope you've enjoyed this weekend. Jubilation for Scotland and Northern Ireland, huge commiseration for Wales. But that's it from us here in Perth. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and thank you for tuning in.